Chapter 1: Dust and Echoes. The Kepler 186f moon was a graveyard of jagged peaks and crimson dust, a landscape sculpted by eons of radiation storms and seismic tremors. Dr. Aries Thorne, her face smudged with the fine, ochre powder, knelt beside a freshly excavated fissure. Her breath plumed faintly in the thin, frigid air, each exhalation a tiny cloud against the backdrop of a bruised, red sun. Around her, the members of her team, a ragtag bunch of geologists, engineers, and linguists, worked with the frantic energy of ants dismantling a fallen giant. "Anything, Jax?" Aries asked, her voice raspy from the dry air. Jax, a burly geologist with grease permanently stained under his fingernails, grunted. "Readings are off the charts. Document. This obsidian, it's not natural. The energy signature is unidentified." He gestured towards a shard of obsidian, roughly the size of a human fist, embedded in the rock. Its surface pulsed with a faint, internal light, a mesmerizing display of shifting violet and emerald hues. It felt strangely warm to the touch, radiating a gentle heat that belied the biting cold of the lunar surface. "Unidentified how?" Lena, the team's xenoarchaeologist, chimed in, her voice hushed with awe. She peered at the shard through a magnifying lens, her dark eyes wide with wonder. "The energy patterns, they're unlike anything I've ever seen. Complex, almost sentient." Suddenly, the ground trembled. A low groan, like the dying breath of a titan, echoed through the canyons. Dust rained down from the canyon walls, obscuring the already dim light. Then, a blinding flash erupted from the distance, followed by a deafening roar that sent shockwaves rippling through the ground. "Cathar," Jax yelled, his voice barely audible above the din. "They found us." Panic seized the team. Lena scrambled to her feet, her face pale with fear. "We need to get out of here. Now." Aries, however, felt a surge of adrenaline mixed with a grim determination. This wasn't just another Cathar incursion, this was something more. The obsidian shard, the strange energy readings, the sudden attack, it was all connected. "Extraction point Delta," she shouted, pointing towards a narrow crevice in the cliff face. "Move!" The team scrambled towards the crevice, dodging falling rocks and the plumes of dust kicked up by the approaching Cathar ship. The ship itself was a terrifying spectacle, a sleek, obsidian dreadnought that seemed to melt into the shadows, its surface shimmering with an unnerving, cold light. Laser cannons charged, spitting bolts of searing energy. The escape was a chaotic scramble, a desperate flight through a landscape suddenly transformed into a battlefield. A member of Ares's team was hit, a horrifying scream cut short by the roar of the Cathar ship's engines. Ares pushed forward, dragging another injured team member with her. They reached Delta just as the Cathar ship unleashed a devastating barrage, obliterating the entrance to the main excavation site. Ares risked a glance back, their camp was engulfed in flames. The loss hit her hard, a cold fist clenching her heart. She clutched the obsidian shard, its warmth a small comfort in the face of devastating loss. Survival now hinged not only on reaching safety but on deciphering the secrets this mysterious shard held. The whispers of the void were calling, and Ares was determined to answer. Chapter 2: Whispers from the Void. The escape had been harrowing, a near-death experience that left Ares and the surviving members of her team shaken but alive. They were holed up in a makeshift shelter carved into the rock face of a remote canyon, miles from the devastation of their former camp. The obsidian shard, salvaged from the wreckage, rested on a makeshift table fashioned from salvaged equipment. Its pulsing light cast long, dancing shadows on their faces. "The Cathar were relentless," Lena murmured, her voice barely a whisper. Her hand instinctively went to the bandage covering a deep gash on her arm. "They knew about the shard." Jax, his face grim, nodded. "They were hunting us. This wasn't just some routine patrol. This was a targeted strike." Ares, however, was already immersed in her work. She was using a combination of advanced scanners and her own intuitive understanding of alien languages, attempting to decipher the strange energy patterns emanating from the shard. "I'm picking up something," she announced, her eyes glued to the monitor. "A structured sequence within the energy pulses." It's a language. Days bled into nights as Ares worked tirelessly, her eyes bloodshot, fueled by adrenaline and black coffee. Lena and Jax, despite their exhaustion and injuries, provided invaluable assistance, sifting through data and cross-referencing their findings. I've managed to isolate several recurring patterns, Ares said, pointing at the screen. They seem to correlate with specific energy signatures. I believe this might be a form of encrypted communication. Encrypted? Jax raised an eyebrow. By whom? And why? That's what we need to figure out, Ares replied, her voice strained but resolute. Weeks later, Ares's painstaking work started to bear fruit. Using advanced AI-assisted linguistic analysis, she managed to crack the encryption. The messages, translated, painted a disturbing picture of the Cathar, a militaristic, expansionist species with a ruthless drive for conquest and an insatiable thirst for power. They had been tracking the obsidian shards for centuries, their existence known only to a select few within their rigid hierarchy. The messages also revealed the Cathar's fear, a fear of something far older, far more powerful than themselves, something the shards held the key to unlocking. But there was a twist, a hidden message within the larger narrative, cleverly disguised using a complex fractal pattern that had eluded the AI at first. Ares felt a shiver run down her spine as she translated it. The message hinted at a specific frequency, a resonance that could disrupt the Cathar's advanced energy weapons systems, a potential weapon against an enemy seemingly unstoppable. Hope flickered, fragile yet bright, amidst the despair. The whispers from the void, once cryptic and ominous, now held a glimmer of strategic advantage, a chance to turn the tables on the Cathar hegemony. Chapter 3: The Hammer Falls. The fragile piece of their hidden canyon was shattered without warning. A tremor, far more violent than any they'd experienced before, ripped through the ground, sending rocks tumbling down the canyon walls. The air crackled with energy, the scent of ozone sharp in their nostrils. "They found us," Jax growled, his voice tight with dread. He grabbed his salvaged pulse rifle, its worn barrel a testament to their desperate struggle for survival. Lena, her face pale, pointed towards the canyon entrance. 3 Cathar attack ships, sleek and obsidian black, descended from the sky, their laser cannons trained on their position. The ships were larger, more heavily armed than the scouts they had encountered before. "This isn't a scouting party," Ares said, her voice betraying none of the fear that gripped her. "This is a full-scale assault." The Cathar ships unleashed a barrage of laser fire, the energy blasts tearing into the rock face, sending dust and debris raining down. The makeshift shelter offered little protection. They were trapped, their only defense the meager weapons they'd salvaged and their wits. "We can't fight them head-on," Jax yelled over the roar of the laser fire. "Their firepower is too overwhelming." Ares, her mind racing, remembered the geological instability of the region, the vast network of subterranean caverns beneath their feet. It was a risky gamble, but it might be their only chance. "Jax, Lena," she shouted, her voice ringing with the authority born of desperation. "We trigger the collapse. Now!" She activated a seismic charge, a device designed to analyze the subterranean shifts, but repurposed for something far more destructive. A deafening boom shook the ground as the charge detonated, sending shockwaves reverberating through the canyon. The earth groaned, the ground buckling and cracking beneath their feet. The Cathar ships, caught in the chaos, were momentarily thrown off balance. Explosions rocked the canyon as sections of the cliff face collapsed, creating a devastating landslide that buried the immediate area beneath tons of rock and debris. Ares, Lena, and Jax ran, dodging falling rocks and debris, the ground shaking violently beneath them. The ground was literally falling apart around them, the seismic charge had done more than intended. The chaos of the collapse provided a vital distraction, they were able to escape the immediate area. But as they reached a precarious ledge, a harrowing scene unfolded. One of their team, Ben, was pinned under a fallen boulder, his desperate cries echoing through the ravaged landscape. The Cathar ships, having regrouped, began to advance once again. Ares knew what she had to do. With a heavy heart and a wrenching sense of loss, she made the agonizing decision to leave Ben behind, a decision made not out of cruelty, but out of cold, hard necessity. Their escape route was closing fast. It was either their collective survival or certain death. They escaped the immediate area, but not without further losses. The initial blast had been far more destructive than anticipated. They were alive, but severely wounded, the canyon behind them a testament to the brutal efficiency of the Cathar and their own desperate gamble for survival. The escape was a Pyrrhic victory, leaving them stranded, outnumbered, and mourning their fallen comrades. The battle was far from over. Chapter 4, Beneath the Crimson Canopy. Days bled into a blurry nightmare of pain, exhaustion, and the constant threat of discovery. Ares, Lena, and Jax, battered and bruised, stumbled through the treacherous landscape of Kepler 186f's moon, their meager supplies dwindling. Hope felt like a distant star, barely visible through the ever-present crimson dust. "We can't keep going like this," Lena gasped, clutching her injured arm. Each step was an agony, each breath a struggle against the thin, harsh air. Jax, his face grim, nodded. "We need shelter, supplies, for plan." Their despair was palpable, a heavy blanket smothering their spirits. Yet, amidst the bleakness, Ares noticed something unusual, a faint luminescence emanating from a crack in a distant cliff face. It was a subtle glow, almost imperceptible against the harsh landscape, yet it held a strange allure. Intrigued, Ares led them towards the light, her determination fueled by a desperate hope that had stubbornly refused to die. As they approached the cliff face, the luminescence intensified, revealing a hidden entrance to a vast subterranean cavern. The air inside was warm, humid, and strangely sweet, a stark contrast to the cold, desolate landscape above. The cavern was breathtaking, a vast, subterranean world bathed in the soft, ethereal glow of bioluminescent flora. Giant, glowing fungi cast an otherworldly light, illuminating strange, alien plant life and winding tunnels that snaked deep into the earth. But it wasn't the beauty of the cavern that caught their attention, it was the sound. A series of melodic chimes, intricate and complex, resonated through the air, creating a haunting symphony. As they ventured deeper, they encountered the Sylvani. Tall and slender, with skin the color of polished jade and eyes like molten gold, they moved with an unnerving grace, their movements fluid and silent. They were unlike anything Ares had ever encountered, possessing an ethereal beauty that was both captivating and slightly intimidating. A tense standoff ensued. The Sylvani, initially wary and hostile, studied them with keen, appraising gazes. Ares, speaking in a mixture of universal sign language and carefully modulated tones of her own, attempted to communicate, explaining their situation. She spoke of the Cathar, of their desperate flight, of the obsidian shard. The Sylvani listened patiently, their golden eyes never leaving Ares's face. Their response, delivered through a complex series of melodic chimes and subtle hand gestures, was far from welcoming. They expressed suspicion, fear of outsiders, and a deep-seated distrust of all races above ground. However, the mention of the obsidian shards caused a noticeable shift. A low hum emanated from one of the Sylvani, a vibration that resonated through the cavern. The shards, it turned out, were far more significant than Ares had realized, ancient artifacts of immense power, sought by many, feared by even more. The Sylvani, they revealed, had been hiding from the Cathar for centuries. Their mutual hatred for the Cathar provided an unexpected common ground, a shared enemy who could unite two wildly different cultures in a fragile but necessary alliance. An uneasy truce was formed, born from desperation and a shared understanding of existential threat. Chapter 5, The Language of Creation. The Sylvani's cavern became a crucible of collaboration, a strange and unlikely partnership forged in the fires of shared adversity. Ares, aided by Lena's expertise and the Sylvani's advanced technology, delved deeper into the mysteries of the obsidian shard. The Sylvani, it turned out, possessed a profound understanding of energy manipulation, their technology far surpassing anything humanity had yet achieved. The shard, it is not merely a power source, a Sylvani elder, named Xylia, explained, her voice a melodious chime that resonated within Ares's chest. It is a key, a fragment of something far greater. Xylia, with the help of other Sylvani, used their technology to enhance Ares's analysis of the shard. The Sylvanis' technology, far beyond human comprehension, was able to penetrate deeper into the shard's energy patterns, revealing intricate layers of information previously hidden from Ares's advanced scanners. It was a breathtaking display of alien ingenuity. Days turned into weeks as Ares, Lena, and the Sylvani worked together, their combined skills creating a synergy that was both exhilarating and humbling. They mapped the shard's energy fields, identified complex subroutines, and painstakingly deciphered the ancient language embedded within the shard's crystalline structure. This was far more than just a translation of words, it was deciphering an entire cosmology, a lost language of creation. The discoveries were both awe-inspiring and terrifying. The shard was not merely an artifact, but a fragment of a colossal device, capable of manipulating spacetime itself. It was technology far beyond human understanding, a weapon of unimaginable power, an evidence of a civilization far older and more advanced than either humanity or the Cathar. The frequency, Ares said one day, her voice trembling with a mixture of awe and fear. She pointed to a complex waveform on the Sylvanis' monitor. The recurring pattern, it's not just a random sequence. It's a resonance, a key,